look, we know that in coming months, that's the kind of choice that's going to be in front of us, you know, whether to keep fighting to lower costs for middle-class Americans, which is at the center of the president's agenda, or to be fighting for tax cuts for the ultra-wealthy and corporations. That's really where the Republicans are focusing.
They say that's where Republicans are focusing. In reality, it's what the White House is focusing on.
So according to Politico, the White House plans to put out a memo twisting words of Republicans, villainizing Trump and his tax cuts that had far more support with the American people than Bidenomics currently does.
Let's bring in Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, who sits on the Senate Budget and Finance Committees. Senator, always terrific to see you. For years, these left-wing nuts have talked about Trump's tax cuts for the rich. Joe Biden says we're getting rid of all the Trump tax cuts. And there was a freak out by the Democrats because they realized he was essentially saying taxes were going to go up for 60% of Americans, for the middle class, lower income Americans. They got caught. They're trying to twist what Republicans did for this country.
Well, first of all, what the Republicans did for this country is we delivered a record economy in world history, and every American got a tax cut. The top 1% pay about 43% of total income taxes. They make about 26% of the income. So at some point in time, you have to admit it's a fair share. But the damage that the Biden administration has done by this massive deficit spending, a dollar you held at the start of the Biden administration is now worth 83.3 cents. That is permanent damage. And I think a shocking statistic, I just read in the Wall Street Journal, the average cost of a new car went from $37,000 a year to $47,000 in just the last 3 years. I mean, that is a 27% increase. It's shocking because of that inflation, because of that massive deficit spending, but also because of their insane drive to put force every American to get an electric vehicle when Americans don't want electric vehicles.
You know, Senator, I love that Democrats are out there demonizing the wealthy or Wall Street because these are their donors and this is their voter base for number one. But it always gets me that, to your point, the wealthiest Americans are paying over 50% of their income in taxes when you include state taxes in their tax burden. And how much is enough when these Democrats think that it's actually not your money, that you earned it, it's their money, and they're just letting you keep a little bit of your hard-earned cash? That philosophy is so bizarre.
And of course, their massive inflation, the devaluation of the dollar they've caused by massive deficit spending is hurting the very same people they purport to represent, people in the lower income. So, you know, what's strange, Sean, what's happened in politics is Democrats now represent the elite, the powerful, government. They're taking away our freedom. Republicans, we're the ones representing the working men and women in this country. You know, people are having a hard time buying groceries and are skipping those meals. That's a sad fact. People are having to skip meals because they simply can't afford $1,000 a month is what it's costing Americans just to keep up. $12,000 a year when we have polls that show a third to two-thirds of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. How can they afford $1,000 a month of Biden's inflation?
And the Democrats only have telling all of those working men and women that what they felt and experienced under President Trump wasn't real. They're trying to rewrite it by lying again and again and again. But speaking of rewriting again and again and again and lying about it, let's talk about the border and the 8 Tajikistan nationals with ties to ISIS who were busted by ICE in 3 of our country's largest cities. Here's the most terrifying part. They were all fully vetted and released and given free rein to move throughout the United States. And we'll remind everyone that it was only just a week ago that Biden's FBI director said this.
We've seen the threat from foreign terrorists rise to a whole nother level. On top of that, increasingly concerning is the potential for a coordinated attack here in the homeland. This is by no means a time to let up or dial back.
Senator, it's really not a question of if, just when there's another 9/11 because of Joe Biden's open border.
Yeah, let's face it, it's not just Joe Biden, it's the Democrat It's their open border policy. It's a clear and present danger to this country. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And talking about full vetting, there's no such thing. What are we supposed to check the database of potential terrorists from Tajikistan and rely on that? These people, when I was down there at the border last time, the goal the administration set for CBP to encounter, process, and disperse was 8 hours. That's not called full vetting. Of course, you have 2 million people, gotaways. Either we detect them coming across, or we don't even know they came across. It's an estimate. 2 million people, we have no idea who those folks are. So there's no such thing as full vetting. And these 8 individuals, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
That's right. This is what we know about. I have to imagine there's far more out there, Senator. But here's what burns me. Christopher Wray there's threats that his budget's going to be cut, and he'll come back to these threats to the homeland and be like, oh, no, we got to protect us from foreign terrorists that could get coordinated, which, by the way, I agree with. So maybe he should stop focusing on pro-lifers or people who protest at school board meetings with LGBTQ policies being taught to third graders. Stop going after conservatives and actually focus on the real terrorists. And I'm sure people like you won't want to cut his budget, but if you can't focus on the real bad guys, that's a conversation you should be having in Congress.
Well, they've had this massive dragnet, this massive manhunt for, grandma and grandpas that showed up on January 6th, never entered the Capitol, just happened to be in Washington, D.C. They're taking agents, SWAT raids to arrest people that are no threat to them whatsoever. So no, the FBI has become completely partisan. It's wasting resources. It doesn't need a budget increase. It needs total reform. It needs a complete change at the head. Christopher Wray, his job was to restore integrity and credibility of the FBI. He's done the exact opposite.
Senator, before we go, one liberal filmmaker posing as a conservative groupie secretly recording Supreme Court Justices Samuel Alito and John Roberts at an event last week. The left now using those tapes to try and force a vote on a Supreme Court ethics bill in their greater effort to dismantle the high court. They even, this woman even targeted Alito's wife and cornered her. And it's just, before we go, Senator, the left, in their high-handed idea of their own morality, will stop at nothing to dismantle the courts and get their way. It's really grotesque, the lengths to which they will go.
No, it's despicable. I mean, Majority Leader Schumer basically threatened Supreme Court justices. Merrick Garland refused to prosecute individuals who are threatening Supreme Court justice. I mean, it's against the law. He won't enforce that law. Instead, they have their lawfare, the weaponization of government against people like Donald Trump and conservative Republicans. So no, this is a travesty. It's got to stop. We need to win in November.
Senator Ron Johnson from America's Dairyland, thanks for being with us on The Bottom Line. We appreciate you and all your good work. Thank you.
Have a great night.